All right, our big story this hour: in less than 2 weeks, you, your neighbor, even the next school shooter can legally download blueprints and 3D print a gun. The U.S. Justice Department just ruled in favor of the gun maker, ending a years-long battle to post these blueprints online. Supporters believe it's a victory for Second and First Amendment rights. The man who created the manual says he's not worried about public safety at all. But critics claim this will make it even harder to keep guns out of the hands of the wrong people. Because the fact is, you don't need a background check to print your own guns. The weapons won't have a serial number once they're assembled, making it virtually untraceable by law enforcement. Somebody in law enforcement that knows it well, spent a long career in it. Bob Bianchi, a former chief law enforcement officer in Morris County, New Jersey, and law enforcement policy expert. First of all, just off the face of it, how concerned are you, Bob?
It's ludicrous. It's insane. It's a danger to the community. It's a danger to police officers. Look, as a chief law enforcement officer, my job is to protect the community. And First Amendment rights and Second Amendment rights do have a limitation to allow guns to go to mentally ill people, to people who want to commit acts of terrorism that are untraceable, is unthinkable. And those people who support this kind of thing, Michaela, in my experience, are all for the Second Amendment until somebody in their family gets shot by some sort of zip gun like this that can't be traced, and then guys like me can't bring the perpetrator to justice. What are we doing here?
Yeah, I'm with you. We know that blueprints for these kinds of guns were originally put online back in 2013, downloaded like more than 100,000 times. And even though up until now they weren't then freshly being allowed to be printed online, they were being shared all over the place on the dark web and beyond, on torrent sites and everywhere. So people had access to them. How easy, frankly speaking, Bob, is it for somebody at home, a regular person without much experience with rifles or making things like this, how easy would it be for them to use these directions and put together a gun?
Michaela, it has been made user-friendly with the 3D imagery that they put together, the instructions they put together, the very limited amount of materials and tools that you would need to do this. Listen, I deal with cases all the time, Michaela, of domestic violence and situations with people who are temperamentally unfit or barred by law from having a gun. And you are going to create a cottage market here for not only those folks to get guns, but people are going to start producing them. They don't have to do it themselves. You will find a cottage industry of people, and by the way, they're going to go all the way to AR-15s and all sorts of other weapons where you could just go purchase them somewhere else, mark my words.
Okay, so before we all run screaming from the room, I mean, that's a pretty dire forecast. What can be done? I mean, what recourse is there?
Listen, elections have consequences, and this case was brought by the Department of Justice. It should have been pursued. As I explained to the producers on your show, Michaela, and to you and to your audience, when I was prosecutor, if I had brought this case, I would have argued it all the way to the United States Supreme Court on these alleged First and Second Amendment violations. If I lost, at least I fought the good fight and tried to keep guns out of the hands of people that you know for a fact, Michaela, are going to get into the wrong hands, because no one wants to get one of these guns that has no serial number, that's untraceable, other than people who aren't lawfully allowed to possess them in the first place. So for them to drop this suit, settle it, and allow this to continue was a political decision in my mind, not necessarily a responsible one.
Well, voters will get a chance to vote in November, and hopefully they'll keep this front of mind. Bob Bianchi, good to talk to you. Thank you so much.
You got it, Michaela.